Hey, this is Warren Redlick. There's a new update on Lucid Motors. I'm going to go into it with you. I'm going to show you where the good news is and, of course, where the bad news is. We can call this Lucid Death Watch if you want, Lucid Q. Maybe I'm wrong. I'm trying to be less wrong. Is Lucid going to be less wrong? Are you ready? Let's go. So, this is the press release Lucid released yesterday. The company produced 2,282 vehicles during Q3, third quarter, July to September of 2022, more than tripling the number produced in Q2. We're going to get into what that means, and delivered 1,398 vehicles during the same period. They produced 2,300 vehicles. They delivered 1,400 vehicles. There's 900 vehicles or so that were not delivered. We're going to talk about that as well. Not a lot more in this press release, as usual for Lucid. They tell you one detail, they leave out other details. It is interesting. They said they delivered 1398. They left this open question, what's going on with your deliveries? Again, we're going to talk more about that, but let's dive a little deeper. So we're looking back to Q1. This is Q1 over here. The Q1 slide deck from their earnings report said they delivered 360 vehicles in Q1. That's a number we can work with. We know they delivered 360 vehicles in Q1. Notice they don't tell you how many vehicles they produced in Q1. For whatever reason, they said deliveries, they didn't say production. This is one of those things with Lucid. They give you what they want to give you. They don't give you the same numbers every quarter. For whatever reason, one quarter they give you one number, another quarter they give you another number. Why are you playing games with your numbers? I don't know. Just a couple of details to note. At Q1, they had 4,700 employees and they had $5.4 billion cash on hand. Now, notice they used the term cash on hand and they gave you a number. Now, here's Q2. At the cash line, instead of saying cash on hand, they now say cash, cash equivalents, and investments. And they get 4.6 billion. So it's a lower number, but it includes more. Why aren't you giving us the same number every quarter? This would be normal. What I think would be normal accounting, normal reporting to your investors is you give the same number every quarter so people know what we're talking about. Now, up at the top, they say quarter to date as of June 30, 2022, unless otherwise stated. So these are Q2 numbers unless otherwise stated. And here they say production first half of 2022, 1405. Why didn't they tell us how many they produced in Q2? Why didn't they tell us how many they produced in Q1? They say they delivered 679 vehicles in Q2. That's not first half, that's Q2. So we now know deliveries Q1 and deliveries Q2, and we know production first half. For some reason, Lucid just being, being the information game players that they are. I think they're liars, but beyond being liars, they play with information. They don't tell you everything. They tell you the details they want to tell you. They don't tell you the details they don't want to tell you. This is transparently non-transparent. You're making it obvious that you're hiding something. Just be honest. Just be honest, just be truthful, just give your investors all the facts. Trust your investors, trust everyone to believe in you rather than playing games. This makes you look suspicious. The number of employees, it was 5,600 at the end of June, as opposed to 4,700. So they added 900 employees. We don't know what the number is for Q3 yet. That wasn't in the release, but we can add together. We've got enough information now. We can do something more. I did a spreadsheet. We got 360 delivered in Q1. We got 679 delivered in Q2. I did, incredibly difficult math, and I determined they delivered 1,039 in the first half of the year, and they told us they produced 1,405 the first half of the year. So as of their report at the end of Q2, they had produced 1,405 vehicles. They had delivered 1,039 vehicles. That left over 366 vehicles undelivered. Now, in the Q2 earnings call, they said they produced a significant number of vehicles that were not gated for delivery, that they decided were not good enough quality to deliver. And they didn't tell us how many that was. They didn't tell us what their production rate. There was a specific question from an investment analyst. What was your run rate, your best run rate for the week, or what was your run rate at the end of the quarter? What's your current run rate? And Rawlinson said it would be misleading to tell you that. Because it's always misleading to tell people facts. Telling people the truth is misleading. This is the world of Peter Rawlinson and Lucid Motors. Anyway, here's what we now know for Q3. For Q3, produced 2,282, delivered 1,398. That's another 884 undelivered vehicles. By my math, they now have produced for the year to date, first three quarters, 3,687 vehicles, delivered 2,437 vehicles. They have a total of 1,250 vehicles not delivered. They have more than one third of the vehicles that they have produced were not delivered. This is a question. Why aren't you delivering your vehicles? Supposedly, there's no demand problem. They have 37,000 reservations. You can see all the reservations here, 37,000 reservations as of August 3rd, 2022. Why are these cars sitting on lots? Where are these cars? Why aren't these cars being delivered? Are customers deciding, no, I don't want delivery of that? They're probably producing only the high-end cars that are well into the $100,000 range, 120, 150, $170,000. It may be that customers are balking at paying for the cars. We don't know that. Are they going to explain that in the Q3 call, November 8th? Probably not. They're probably not going to explain it. That's just a quick mention there. Set to report third quarter financial results on Tuesday, November 8th, 2022. So November 8th, we're going to have the earnings call where they're not going to tell us whatever they're not going to tell us at the Q3 earnings call. They're going to, if they stay true to form, they will not explain why 1,250 vehicles haven't been delivered. Now, one of the key things in this was they said, number one, they tripled the number produced in Q2. So if we go to our shot here, we don't know how many they produced in Q2, but more than tripled. So if they produced 2,282 in Q3, that means they did more than they did in the ballpark of 700 in Q2. They didn't do 800 because that wouldn't be more than triple. They probably did more than 600 because if they had done less than 600, they would have said they quadrupled. So they probably produced about 700 in Q2 and 700 in Q1. These are guesses. We don't know because Lucid is not transparent. I want to turn to Lucid's slide deck from their SPAC merger. This is back in February 2021. This is where Lucid was making projections about how the company would do over the next few years. And you can see up on the top line, they projected that they would deliver, not produce, deliver 20,000 cars in 2022. If you deliver 20,000 cars in 2022, they predicted $2.2 billion in revenue in 2022. It now appears that they will produce, I think they said in this release, they are on pace to produce the 6,000 to 7,000 vehicles they said they would produce in 2022. Their updated production forecast for 2022. It now appears, look, if you produced, let's go back to our year-to-date slide. If you've produced 3,687 in the first three quarters, and you're on a pace of 2,282, then you only need to increase production a little bit to get to 6,000 produced. But it's not 6,000 delivered. But let's go back to this, looking at this slide here. So their projection was that they would deliver 20,000 vehicles in 2022. They're now maybe going to deliver 5,000. Maybe they're going to deliver 4,000. We don't know what's happening with these undelivered vehicles. Now, one of the problems is their production cost is there because they produced the vehicles, but the revenue isn't there if they don't deliver the vehicles. So they have a problem there. The plan was we're going to grow production. We're going to do 20,000 in 2022. We're going to do 49,000 in 2023, 90,000, 135,000, and 251,000. And that leads to these increasing revenue numbers that they'll do 5.5 billion in 23, 9.9 billion in 24. And what we can see is if they don't produce 20,000 vehicles in 2022, they're not likely to produce 49,000 vehicles in 2023. In fact, I believe they're showing 12,000 vehicles of the Project Gravity in 2023. Project Gravity has been pushed back to 2024. So at best, they're going to do 36,000 vehicles in 2023. But I think we can all agree it doesn't look like they're going to do 36,000 vehicles in 2023. They're going to struggle to do 20,000 vehicles produced in 2023. And that was deliveries, 49,000. They're going to struggle to produce 20,000 vehicles in 2023 because you've got to get up to 5,000 vehicles a quarter. And right now they're at 2,200 a quarter and they're not growing their production well and they're having other problems. So this is, again, and you can see, the long run plan was they would get to $22 billion in revenue in 2026 and they would basically become a going concern somewhere in there. Let's dive more into their SPAC merger forecast. Here you can see their net income. I'm going to go into more in a second, and I'm going to make my head smaller, but you could see they projected to lose $1.5 billion in 2021. They projected to lose $1.3 billion in 2022. These numbers all get worse if they don't produce more vehicles and they don't deliver more vehicles, right? They're still losing money on net income in 23. They're still losing money on net income in 24. They start making a profit in 2025. Now, here's the problem. These numbers get pushed back. So they're still going to lose money in 2025. And maybe they make a profit in 2026, but they probably don't make a profit in 2026. So if you are an investor in Lucid Motors, you are investing in a company that will not make a profit until at best 2026, 4 years away. Just to be clear. And I'm going to be blunt, it gets worse than that. So we're looking at the SPAC slide deck, another page from the SPAC slide deck from February of 2021. You can see here in 2022, they forecast a total volume of 20,000 vehicles, and that was deliveries. And they're going to deliver maybe 4 or 5,000 in 2022. Then they project out to 49,000 deliveries in 2023. We know that number is going to be a lot lower, 90,000 in 2024. That's when they will now claim they're going to start delivering Project Gravity. So this number is going to be lower. And you can see that this just slides out into 2026. Total revenue. Well, if you're going to deliver 20,000 vehicles and make $2.2 billion in revenue, and instead you deliver 5,000 vehicles, well, your revenue is going to be like 500 million, maybe 600 million because of the price of the vehicles. So we're going to see the revenue for 2022 is going to be pretty low. They had 57 million revenue in Q1 and 97 million or so revenue in Q2. So they're at ballpark 150 million in revenue for the first half of the year. Second half of the year, maybe they get a total for the year of 500 million. So their projection for the year was 2.2 billion in revenue. Maybe they're looking at 500 million. So that's a big drop. Cost of goods sold is going to be less potentially because they made fewer vehicles that actually sold, but then they have other costs. What about the cost of goods not sold? Right? So they were hoping to make a gross profit of 34 million in 2022. That's obviously going to be a gross loss, right? They lost money in 2021. They're obviously going to lose money in Q2. Are they going to have a gross profit in 2023? I don't know if that's looking too good. Their EBITDA is the common number that's commonly used. Still losing money on EBITDA through 2023. That's going to push out to 2024, maybe 2025. CapEx is an interesting question. At that point, they expected CapEx of 1.3 billion for 2022. I believe in the Q2 earnings call, they were heading more towards 2 billion in CapEx for the year. So this number is actually higher. Free cash flow. Their free cash flow is negative through 2024 and barely turns positive in 2025 on their projections. Obviously, this is going to continue to be cash flow negative in 2025 because they're still burning cash. They're pushing their situation back. Do they become cash flow positive in 2026? This is how long you have to wait as an investor to see a company that's generating positive cash flow. Maybe 2026, you might be 5 years from positive cash flow. And they presented their numbers in a different way on the slide deck. Here's gross profit in millions. They expected to make a gross profit of 34 million in 2022. Obviously not going to happen. Are they going to make a gross profit in 2023? That's not clear. I suppose if you don't count the cost of vehicles you produce and don't deliver, maybe you can turn a gross profit, but you got serious problems. But you can see earnings, EBITDA is, strongly negative in 2023, and they're hoping to make it positive in 2024. That's not looking like it's going to be positive in 2024. Free cash flow, here you can see the negatives. That's going to be extending. So it continues to be my position that Lucid Motors is in trouble. Their cash pile is shrinking. We're going to see what their cash pile is at the end of Q3. We're going to see how they present their cash pile. Are they going to distinguish between cash equivalents, investments? How much is that number going to drop? How much are they going to achieve in terms of CapEx? You remember, they've been pushing off their CapEx. If they keep pushing off their CapEx, their capital expenditure, their investment in building their factories, if they keep pushing off their CapEx, it means they're pushing off their future revenue. So at some point, you have to invest the money to build the factories, to build the production capacity, to actually be able to deliver the vehicles you said you were going to produce. But if you spend the money, you run out of cash. And now we're hitting a very, very difficult macroeconomic environment where it's going to be hard to raise cash. And are the Saudis going to start giving them money? That's not looking good. Now, there's a cold, hard reality for Lucid investors. Some of you bought up at a peak where the stock price was way up. The stock price has been going down, 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 down. Last traded at $13.09 a share, effectively the all-time low. It was trading at 10 before the SPAC merger, as Churchill Capital. But once the rumors hit that there was going to be a SPAC merger, you saw the stock shoot up. The stock went up over 10. It's now basically affected. I think that it's actually lower than this dip here. It is at an all-time low. If you were a Lucid investor and you bought earlier, you've lost money. There's a continued decline. Look, a lot of stocks are down right now. Lucid is down a lot. They're continuing to decline. Where is the upside for Lucid investors? I don't know where you see it. So I know I'm very negative about Lucid Motors. I am hopeful for the EV sector. I think Rivian has some promise. I know there was a recall recently on Rivian, but overall I think Rivian is doing well. There are other electric vehicle companies that show promise, and I'm hopeful for. Tesla, obviously, I'm a big believer in. Tesla is doing well. They're making money. They're growing their cash pile. Lots of good news for Tesla. The stock price is down, but this is what doesn't make sense. Tesla stock price is down when they're outperforming. Lucid stock price is not really down that much more than Tesla's, despite the fact that they're massively underperforming. So looking forward to the Q3 call for Lucid, the big question is, why are these vehicles undelivered? You've got 1,250 vehicles undelivered as of the end of Q3. Why do you have undelivered vehicles? Is the demand not there? If there's no demand for your vehicles, if they have to shift their mix and only produce the Air Pure where they have more demand, their whole model was based on making over $100,000 a car. If they have to sell $80,000 cars as their primary source of revenue, they're losing money for longer. They're a negative profit. They're a losing money story out into 2027 and beyond. You can't continue to lose money forever. At some point, you have to make money. That's the nature of the business. At some point, you have to make money. When is Lucid going to make money? There really doesn't seem to be an answer to this question. So I remain Lucid Q. I remain believing that Lucid's on a death watch. I'm not saying they're dead tomorrow. We'll see what happens in the Q3 investor call on November 8th. Where do they get more cash? Do they have to borrow to get more cash? They're basically junk rated. How much interest do they have to pay to borrow to get more cash? Are they going to try to issue equity? Is anybody going to buy this crappy stock? How much would you pay for Lucid stock if they issue equity and they dilute their existing shareholders? Do they have to sell stock for $12 a share? Do they have to sell stock for $10 a share? Are the Saudis going to buy more stock? That seems unlikely. The Saudis filed to sell stock. When are the Saudis going to sell? Have the Saudis already started selling? All these questions are out there. We don't know the answers. So for those of you who bought Lucid Motors early and you believed, you bought it at $40, $50, $60 a share, I think you need to be more critical when you see these presentations. I was critical of Lucid from September of 2020 when they did their reveal. I was critical of them at their SPAC merger. I called this a long time ago. In the words of Stephen Mark Ryan, Lucid Motors, the death watch is on. I don't think it's this year. I think in 2023, Lucid Motors dies. They don't die. They're going to run out of cash. This is the death of Lucid Motors, is when they run out of cash. And the question is, where do they get cash? Who's going to give them cash? Is somebody going to buy them? What would you pay for this company? You're not going to pay $13 a share for this company. If they sell, it's going to be at a discount. They're in trouble. I just don't see how this company survives. I would love to hear, if you believe in Lucid Motors, tell me what I've got wrong. Tell me, listen, people are critical of me. They say, oh, Warren, you're not being fair to Lucid. Tell me why there's 1,250 undelivered vehicles. Tell me what I've got wrong. Tell me how they survive with diminishing cash. Do they either not spend the cash on building factories and therefore not build the vehicles they've been planning for the future, or do they burn out their cash, and where do they get cash if they run out of cash? Do you believe that the Saudis are just going to keep pouring money into this mess? I don't know where you're coming from. Would you buy stock? Sorry, the death watch is on. I don't see a way out for Lucid Motors. Good luck to you. Of course, please check out my other videos. Please check out the t-shirts on elonbits.com. Please support this channel on the Locals platform on Patreon or as a YouTube channel member. Early access to a lot of my videos if you're a supporter. Please like, share, and subscribe. And thank you so much for watching.